I am literally reading a script, and I have numbered things. I have categories, basically. I have things that are established for the first little while, and then it turns more into observations I had about the show or the episode in general. I also have the category of things I specifically liked, things I specifically did not like, and things I had questions about. Hello everybody, I am on a roll now, so I am going to jump right on into episode 1. And what do I mean by episode 1? In case you couldn't tell by the title of this video, whatever that title is, because I don't know yet, I am doing a full-on 26 episode review of the Chinese drama that was filmed in 2020 called Detective. Go watch my introduction video. It is about, literally and obviously, it's about a detective who is solving murder cases. But the main thing about the show that I'm focusing on is not necessarily the story, although I branch out and talk about that a little bit. It's mainly about the characters in the story, and mainly about 4 specific characters, 2 of which are part of a d.i.d. system. The main character has d.i.d. And go watch the introduction video to why that set me off on doing an actual review for the first time ever. This is the first time ever that I'm going to actually be reviewing an actual show. And that is the one that I am reviewing. I did an introduction video to the whole thing, including disclaimers and trigger warnings, etc. And I also did a character introduction video, so that if you're lost on who I'm talking about, that character introduction video tells you who's who and gives you a bit of this stuff. These episode by episode things are definitely containing spoilers because I am literally dissecting the characters and the situations that they are in, so there are major spoilers. If you want to go and watch the show itself without seeing spoilers first, then go find it on the website iqiyyi.com, iqiyyi.com, and in the search bar you have to search for The Detective, otherwise it won't show up for you, even though it is literally only called Detective. So go find it and watch it first if you don't want any spoilers, but you're still curious to know what I'm going to say about it. And go watch the introduction for the disclaimers. I myself am a singlet. I am not a d.i.d. system, therefore I'm going to try very hard to talk about the characters themselves in terms of being individuals and their relationship with each other the same way that I'd talk about other people's relationship with each other, even though the fact that they are sharing the same body does affect that. I'm going to try very hard not to put words into systems' mouths and leave my questions about d.i.d. as questions. Any system is welcome to answer those questions. I'd be grateful if you did, because I want to learn about d.i.d. I want to get the facts correct. I don't want to just be going off of my own made-up beliefs and whatever and making the whole misconception worse. So if you're a system that happens to see this and you feel safe and comfortable with replying, I would appreciate it. If you don't feel safe and comfortable, that's fine. Don't reply. If you don't like what I said or did and you just really don't want this video out there, you're free to leave a comment saying, take this down and reword it or something, and I will try to take that into account. I put a lot of hard work into this because I actually really enjoyed this show, and I am taking way longer at this than I thought I would. You're supposed to go and watch the introduction. Just go watch the introduction. I said it all there. So, episode 1. Things established in this episode. 1. The fact that Tan is proud of his abilities, which are obviously on the genius level. He's extremely against being called short on it, especially when it comes from Mirror. The offense of claiming he missed something is nearly unforgivable. And at the very least, it's unforgivable when it comes from Mirror. He really doesn't like it when Mirror calls him on this. 2. A key factor that comes up as important several times throughout the show being that Tan calls his weapon a gun of kindness because he never puts bullets in it. 3. The fact there is major tension between Tan and Mirror, at least in part due to the fact that Mirror is trapped inside and has been for a long time. He says it's been a decade that he's been trapped in there, which is at least in part due to the use of medication. these medications make Tan strong enough to suppress Mir, is their claim in the show. Yes, I have questions about that. We'll get there. As far as I understand it, that's not possible. As far as I understand it, medications can't suppress alters. But that is what the show does. It makes it look like medications can suppress alters. And that's what Tan has been apparently doing. 4 in the list of things that are established in this episode is the fact that Mir seems to basically be Ko-Kan 24/7, because he apparently knows everything about what we just saw Tan do in this case, and he implies he knows even more than Tan does about it. Once again, see the questions section. 5, as things that are established in this episode, is the fact that Mir is interested in Jajan, and the fact that his interest in Jajan makes Tan downright angry. 6 is perhaps not as strongly set in stone yet, but it is soon enough, so we'll say it here, is that Tan can not only hear Mir, whether he's looking at him or not, he can also literally see Mir inside of reflective surfaces. That's actually brought up in episode 2, but we'll say it here because it's implied strong enough. Okay, what I specifically liked about this episode is, number 1, the lack of manipulative music. Music in dramas is needed, but music that manipulates you into a certain mood is aggravating. And for most of this show, actually, they don't use manipulative music. It's there, but it's not done to the over nth degree where literally a scene starts, and before I'm given a chance at all to think of what I think of this, to decide what I feel about the scene, the music is already manipulating me and convincing me to feel a certain way, and I'm like, I hate it when dramas do that. Korean dramas are actually really bad for that. They love manipulating you with their music, and it makes me mad. Chinese dramas aren't. Some of them maybe are, some of them aren't. I don't know. I've never really thought about it too much with Chinese dramas, but this one, as far as I remember, it's not bad for that. So I really like that about this. Another thing I really liked about this episode is the consistent lighting, where even switching between scenes, there's no jarring difference. I really hate it when there's this chaotic whiplash between scenes happening, which some Chinese dramas are really bad for that. Like, really, really bad. Like, it's not just sudden and it's not whiplash, it's seriously chaotic whiplash. Third, and what I like about this episode is the depth to the characters that is clear the minute they walk on the screen. Another thing I liked is the setup, with a mystery in the past leading to the present, with very little said or done to prove how dangerous the world is at the moment, i.e. they show you through natural action versus info dumping, including one of the ways that they did that was the fact that Tan is introduced as someone who has already proven how good he is. They don't back up and show you all this other stuff. They show you with the current case happening right now in the way that he responds to something happening when, as far as I know, he had no idea anything was happening until he heard gunshots, and his instantaneous reaction to it, which shows you something about his character, as well as, like, he shows up and this current case that's happening proves how good he is. So, like, they're showing you this instead of telling you this, and they're using current events to do that. Fifth, about what I liked about this one was the way the scenes are cut together, where there's just enough shown to help you see what's happening without extended feelings of being taken away from what you care about is happening. Again, no over-explaining is being done, while also no under-explaining is being done. Sadly, in many of the later episodes, they actually do the exact opposite, and we'll get there, but in this episode they didn't. They actually did it really well. I actually really like the way they did it in this one, switching back and forth between Tan solving the case, while also showing you that something's happening back at the mansion still. 6 in the list of things I liked was the headache that Tan gets, and like the casual way that d.i.d is brought into this story. It's dramatic, the way he's getting the headache and stumbling while he's running, and like it's showing you that there's the flashbacks are very clipped here to give you an indication that there's something happening, but it's not like, again, it's not like info dumping all of a sudden or something like that. And when he gets back home and gets into his room, it's very casual. He takes the medication and he's already calming down before, there you go, Mirror's voice. Including the fact that Tan does see Mirror in the mirror and is usually looking at him while talking to him, but he doesn't always sit there and stare at him. It makes it clear that Tan can hear him and often does have part of the conversation without watching him while he's doing it, because it makes it maybe easier for us to understand and remember, although at the same time it's a little bit of an insult, because I think we can tell if I just saw a drama with a voice. I mean, they do this in fantasies and stuff. How come they can't do this to portray what d.i.d is? Isn't that how it is? It's just, usually it's just a voice that you're hearing. You're not actually seeing it. Where was I? Because I'm not following my script. What I liked. Mirrors are a cool, easy way to make it relatable to singlets, but I'm getting a little tired of it always being used. The vast majority of systems that I've heard of don't hallucinate their alters. They don't physically see their alters. That's just what I've heard so far. Like I say, I actually do think I did hear one system say that they do hallucinate their alters. So, questions? How often does that happen? How normal is it? Are there systems that do hallucinate their alters, especially within reflective surfaces? Or is this just a 100% made up thing with TV? So yeah, questions I was left with. Well, you're watching a show, obviously you're going to have questions, but just be patient. They answer it within the show. So when I put my questions here, they're going to be largely or only ones that don't get answered, or I missed the answer. So, the question section, aside from ones that I just asked already. Question 1, is it possible to suppress alters with medications at all, or even just slightly? Like, what are the effects of medication? Like, what is medication useful for, and what is complete misrepresentation about medications when it comes to d.i.d? Because like I say, as far as my understanding is, I think I heard a system once say that you can't suppress alters with medication. But I'm trying to leave this as questions that hopefully someone will answer. Because if I myself don't have a definitive for sure answer, I don't want to be spreading even more misinformation. So tell me, what are the effects of medication on d.i.d? My second question, is the medication the only thing that's been keeping Mirror locked inside? I think the show goes back and forth a little on this, enough that I'm leaving it in here and bringing it up more than once, because I'm honestly not positive what they're implying. Because sometimes the show makes it sound like the medication is the only reason that Mirror is kept locked inside, because they say somewhere that Mirror is stronger than Tan, and so Tan is only strong enough to keep him locked inside by taking this medication. But that doesn't quite make sense, even taking the medication out of it, because there's other times where it seems like Mirror should have been able to take over, and if he was really stronger than Tan, then he should have been able to, and he doesn't. And I don't know, this whole thing kind of confuses me, because other times they seem to be implying that Tan's lack of memory is just as much the reason that Mirror is locked inside. So, like I say, I bring this question up more than once because the show, to me, kind of goes back and forth, and I'm not sure. Question number 3. Mirror strongly implies that while he's been locked up for a decade, is that possible? Is one question. Mirror implies that he has been locked inside for a decade. Is that possible? Even without medications, is it possible to trap an alter inside like that? For any reason. Like, can you think of any reason why it would be possible to trap one inside against their will? Question, Mirror, I wrote this really confusing, sorry. Mirror strongly implies that he's been locked up for a decade inside. My question is, like, he seems to imply that he's always 100% aware of everything that's been happening. Is that possible? I know that co-consciousness is a thing in d.i.d. 2 alters can be co-con. I think possibly I heard that even more than 2 alters can be co-con. I don't know about that, so there's another question. Is it possible for more than one to be co-con? I think someone told me they can. But even just two alters, even if they're like co-con, is it possible to know what's happening outside like all the time? Can you be always aware even while you're inside? Because they never explicitly say that he is, but every time throughout the show things come up, he never seems lost on what's actually going on right now, even though he's inside. So is that possible? And for how long has he? I'm not sure how long the show is implying. And especially, is it possible for him to be so aware of everything while he is being suppressed and locked inside? So, that is episode 1. That is my comments on episode 1. And that took 17 minutes, so I am going to continue and move on to episode 2. Episode 2 of Detective. Things that are established in this episode. 1. Tan has painful memories from his childhood. Considering the scene cut, it makes it look like his nightmare was about the opening flashback, but whether it was or wasn't specifically about that, Tan did wake up from a nightmare, so it's clear he has negative memories. So he's not just, what's that called when an alter doesn't have any memories, any negative memories at all when they're kept, is that the ANP? Because it is clear that Tan does remember negative things from his past. Whether you call it outright traumatic things or whether it's just negative things, he does clearly have those things because he clearly has nightmares. The second thing that's established, Tan was raised by his aunt and uncle. I don't know whether they are literally his relatives or if he just calls them his aunt and uncle. Because I think his uncle said that he was friends with Tan's father. Although that wasn't in my notes, and that suddenly brings up a bunch of other questions because, yeah, there's a lot of things about Tan and Mirror's past that aren't explained in this show. And that's another reason why it's actually kind of confusing about how correct they are with the d.i.d. and how incorrect they are. Because there's a lot they don't tell you. And some of it becomes a little bit critical. So, number 3 thing that's established, through various actions and reactions, Tan is portrayed as a kind, caring person, not only to the people he loves, but also to strangers, like when he bought the churros for the kids. Number 4 thing that's established, it is also apparent that Tan has a playful side, even if it's a slightly awkward playful side, because they do bring up the fact that he is socially awkward. Dapan mentions it later. This apparently playful side is brought up through his actions on the boat, the whole way that he is suddenly playing along with this ridiculous scenario, even though he figured out that it's just a trick. He turns it around back on her instead of just saying, okay, knock it off, I know it's a trick. He turns it back around on her. So clearly he's got a playful side, and on top of that is also the bad pun surrounding his welcoming gift to her. She wanted flowers. She asked for flowers. But he got her churros because those churros are made of flour. So yeah, bad pun. What I specifically liked about this drama was the adorable / hilarious establishment of relationship between Tan and Dapan, and between those two and Jajan. It's seen in the street surrounding the present there, and it's seen later on when she gives him the book as a gift, and the whole reactions, well, only 3 of them really know what the book is about, and then other adults are all clueless. What I specifically didn't like is, number 1, I guess it had to come somewhere, but it's a bit of a sudden info dump between Jajan's father and Changmin, considering by the point the explosives are brought up for you later, you've already forgotten the first episode's opening scene, or at least I did. And then when other information comes up later, you forget that Changmin already brought it up here. And like Hangsha, for instance, once they bring up the Hangsha clan later on, I forgot that Jajan's father mentioned them here. So, that was all of a sudden info dump. I suppose it had to come from somewhere, but like, I don't like it when shows do that. What I had questions about, number 1 question is, with how quickly Tan stopped to listen when Mir said he knows who the murderer is, after already making it obvious that Tan doesn't like listening to Mir, how often have these two actually talked with each other before now? Slash, how much does Tan know about how smart Mirror is? Like, this is something actually throughout the show they don't, this is one of the key things that is missing, is how long, how much interacting these two have actually had, how much communications these two have actually had. It's clear that Tan does not like Mirror, but exactly why is not really discussed, which leaves me questioning. And my phone battery is dying, on top of the fact that now this is 23 minutes long. So that is the end of the first video walking through the actual episodes of the show Detective. I hope you have enjoyed it so far. There's many questions that the show itself will answer, so we're not discussing it yet. And yeah, what do you think so far? We've barely gotten into it, but already we've seen many things. So, what do you think? Thank you for watching. Let me know. Bye.